Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 10th episode of Footnotes.
Whoa, we made it to episode 10.
It's not technically the 10th episode. It's like 10th episode of the reboot of the podcast, but we're at I think 17 total. Which, actually, now that I think about it, and I think about the old podcast, it makes me want to do either a Footnotes episode for Goosebumps, the movie, because we used to do episodes about the Goosebumps television series, or do some kind of thing about the Goosebumps television series. I don't know. But the point is, we're at episode 10 of this iteration of the podcast. Yeah. And thank you for listening, if you've held with us. My name is Ezra Block. This is Jacob Block. And we are here today to speak about Astro-boy, the film starring Nicolas Cage, Nathan Lane, some other people, I'm sure. Look up just the IMDb now. Astro-boy, IMDb, not BD. Jacob, why don't you tell us about came out in 2009. Why don't you tell us about, how you feel about the film while I look up who else was in there.
Okay, well, to me, it seemed a bit awkward.
Oh, Freddie Highmore, classic sociopath.
Back then, I wasn't a fan of that smooth
Donald
animation.
Sutherland.
It just seemed unnatural to me.
Bill Nighy.
Like something is supposed to be dirty in life.
Kristen Bell.
And that's what makes it real.
It was a star-studded cast. I did not know that this film was imagine hiring all those actors and getting a 6.3 on IMDb.
I'm just starting to remember those three robots.
What, the three robots who were part of the revolution?
Yeah.
The revolution. Yeah. I like Footnotes, for those who don't know, is a podcast where we talk about writing. So we're going to talk about how to make this film better, if that is indeed possible, which it may not be. Because it's not terrible, I don't think. I looked up a couple of clips now, and the moment that, if you remember the old school moment, giant robot lifts up his foot. One guy's like, you can't murder a human being. Robots haven't been allowed to do that for 50 years, right? It's against Asimov's law of robotics. And then the robot's like, I'm old school. It's a great moment. As a child, that's a memorable moment, I think. Even though Jacob apparently doesn't remember it.
I recall the robot saying, I'm old school,
yes.
But not for what the reason is.
Yeah, that's sort of like an Iron Giant style moment in the film.
Not what reason, not the reason he said it for.
Don't stop talking, please. Jesus Christ. This is going to be so much more difficult than I thought it would be. Yeah, I think there's moments like that in the film where there's some level of a warmth or passion involved in the project. It has the same problem, I think. It has a similar problem with Alita Battle Angel, where they're kind of, to an extent, they're it's got that anime thing. It's got the anime stink all over it, where you could when there's fight scenes and stuff, it feels kind of like an anime with the frenetic action, and it's kind of weird the way everything is the way the action is depicted, the way the characters are modeled. He does in
fact have 2 machine guns behind his pelvic bones.
Yeah, I remember that very corny joke, probably because they played it in a trailer at one point. Because that's the kind of joke that they like to put in trailers.
That was
American
actually
audiences.
In the original show.
Oh, the machine guns coming out of it. Okay, well then there you go. That is kind of that's like a reference where at least the people working on it had some knowledge of the original.
In case you didn't know, Astro-boy is based on one of those old animes.
So I did some research about the property of Astro-boy, but which we're going to get into in a moment now. And we can decide whether or not we want to base our reinterpretation of this film off of the previous works or if we're going in a completely new direction like the movie kind of did. But basically, I was trying to... So do you want me to give the rundown on what I learned first? Yeah. Or do you want us to write down like what's good and bad about this film and then go into the stuff?
We can talk about what's good and bad over the course of the movie. The episode.
So you want to do that later?
Yeah.
Okay. So originally it was a manga. Originally it was a manga.
As most anime are.
Which I believe it like started around 1950, if I remember correctly, because I think like the Astro-boy first appeared in like a comic. He was like a background character in a comic in like 1948 or around that time.
Background character.
Yeah. So there was the Astro-boy became pop. Basically, I think like young boys saw the design from what I read on the Astro-boy Wikia. Young boys saw the design for the character in like the background cell of a separate comic that nobody remembers, which I think is called like Astronomer Atom.
Astronomer Atom.
Like Awesome Atom or something. Atom, A-T-O-M. Something Atom. I can look it up now. But yeah, he appeared in the background and people were like, that's really cool. You should make a comic book about that. And they did. And it was very popular. And then there have been multiple animated series. The one that you and I are referring to, which we watched a long time ago, was like, I think the 1980s version. I'm pretty sure. The one where they end up on a boat that's kind of like the Titanic. And that's like the 1980s. But there was a 1960s television show as well, 1963. And then there have been a bunch of shows, I think probably mostly in the 90s. Like there was a softer version of everything that was like, everything's fun and nobody has crippling depression because their son got murdered and now he's in a robot body. Or now he's being replaced by a robot body, which is even worse, probably.
Yeah, worse. I mean, technically, you can't really transport someone's consciousness into a robot. So if you're... the best you can do is to just copy their memories.
Cyborg, Jacob, obviously.
No, wrong.
Yeah, I think, I'm trying to find, like, where it talks about it. But basically, yeah, it's gone through a bunch of, like, so there's a 1963 show, there's a 1980 show, there's a 2003 show, and then there was a reboot, and then there was something called Jetter Mars. I guess another series because it's listed under anime.
Jetter Mars.
And also this movie that we're talking about, the 2009 Astro-boy film starring Donald Sutherland has won like an Oscar, right? Like by now. Or no, I should just say starring Nicolas Cage, Oscar award-winning actor Nicolas Cage, best known for his role in the National Treasure series. That film is not the only Astro-boy film. There's a film called Astro-boy Doomsday. There's a film Astro-boy Mighty Atom: The Secret of Atom's Birth.
Right.
And there's Astro-boy: The Volume of the Blue Night, which sounds like a fantasy. Excuse me. So, just looking back through the history, apparently there's a couple of things that did not appear in this movie that seem to be important to the legacy of Astro-boy. Unlike the machine guns coming out of the boy's pelvis. I was going to say something really, really bad, and I've decided against it. Astro-boy has a sister, apparently, in a bunch of iterations. I think
you must be thinking of Mega Man.
No.
Yes, I am aware that Astro-boy has a sister.
How do you know? How?
It was in the series.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, there was a girl. It just came along, and it was like, she's fine. Yeah.
Dang. You and I, we remember different things. All right. So, yeah, he has a sister called Uran. And she's also a cyborg, and she's super powerful. Or I guess an android. He's just he's just a complete robot, I guess, in all versions. He's not like Inspector Gadget, where he's like a brain inside a metal case, and he has a bunch of things that pop out of his metal body, but he's still a person on the inside. He's just a robot.
You know what? We should have done Inspector Gadget.
Do you think we should have done Inspector Gadget instead of Astro-boy?
We're definitely going to do Inspector Gadget.
It's not too late in the episode to switch gears and transform this into an episode about Inspector Gadget.
I mean, the document says Astro-boy.
It's probably the best thing about that entire property is the theme song. If we're being honest. There really aren't that many redeeming qualities to Inspector Gadget, but the theme song was pretty good.
What about the "This message will self-destruct" gag?
Oh yeah, that never gets old. All right, so going back to Astro Boy against all, really, it's the same. I'm trying to think. I had this thought earlier during this episode, like 5 minutes ago. I was like, it reminds me of Inspector Gadget because like things pop out of his body, right?
Yeah.
It's the same. Like, why was that a thing?
Because,
like, you know what kids like? Just people who have metal bits inside of them.
Because people want to live forever. And be more powerful than they already are.
Astro Boy isn't living forever. Astro Boy is building a robot that has the same personality as your dead son and pretending that the dead son is your son. And pretending that the robot is your dead son.
That isn't that's the in-world motivation, but people like it because they like the idea of being young forever.
I don't think that's the reason why kids watch Inspector Gadget, but you may be correct as to why cyborgs and androids have an appeal.
See, we're alternating between Inspector Gadget and Astro Boy, so I'm not sure what we're talking
about. No, it's just the bright. It's the same like the bright colors and this like the futuristic Tomorrowland. I guess Inspector Gadget is supposed to take place in the real world. We're going deep on this. Inspector Gadget is supposed to take place in the modern world. But it's so anachronistic from my remembering of that show that there's nothing about it that clearly defines. I mean, somebody is utilizing the technology to build the Inspector Gadget, obviously, which is light years ahead of everything else in the world. And then, like, Dr. Claw has a bunch of crazy machines, I'm pretty sure. So there's nothing about that world that is modern. And then they go to places that are, like, in the medieval ages.
Right. He did once try to solve a crime in an Eastern European kingdom.
And he had to like infiltrate the gypsy clan.
Right, and
there were like nine wagons in total.
Trying to set up Inspector Gadget with his daughter because he thought that Inspector Gadget was a prince.
Yeah, really, Inspector Gadget makes most of the problems for himself by lying to everybody and not utilizing his incredible powers. But going back to Astro Boy, I got reluctantly against our will. He had a sister named Oran who was like she was spunky and she looked up to him. And in some versions, I guess she's jealous of how popular he is, which is like a classic anime motivation for anything, I guess, is jealousy. But then in other versions, but she's always, even when she's jealous, she's also like reverent of him. So it's a weird family dynamic in some versions of the property. Then there's another important detail.
She's very honest. Yeah.
You're just making up. You didn't read anything about her. You just remembered her from the show. You don't have any information about her.
I'm interpreting her personality based on what you're saying.
Oh, okay. That's great. 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Yeah. It's not really what that is. It's telephone. Telephone is what it is. But that's the exchange of all ideas, I guess. No, there's another important detail. It's Atlas, apparently. There's like he's like the Astro Boy version of Shadow the Hedgehog. And I'm not a fan of Sonic, so I don't know what Shadow the Hedgehog actually is like. But
Shadow
I think this is what he's like.
He's sort of
he's an anti-hero, isn't he?
Yeah, he's sort of a
he's like the
misanthropic jerk to Sonic because he thinks that Sonic is the copy of him. Even though in the real world...
How do you know this? You never watched anything about Sonic. You never played the Sonic games.
I watched a video compilation of him talking to Sonic.
Damn you. Okay, so it's kind of like that. I think Atlas is less of a jerk, but he is like an anti-hero figure where he starts out as a villain, and then, he comes to the rescue a couple of times, but he's still kind of off doing his own thing. He's not really like one of the good guys. So yes, it's like a Shadow the Hedgehog type situation, which I guess is probably shows up in a lot of Japanese properties now that I think about it. Is probably the reason why. There's probably someone like that in Mega Man too. I used to get Mega Man confused with Astro-boy because they both have a scientist who's like the good guy.
Yeah.
Like Mega Man has, I think, is Dr. Lightbeard, and then like Astro-boy, it's Dr. Elephant. And they both are like old men with like round noses, and they have white hair, distinctive white hair. It's distinctive in different ways, but they remind me of each other. Somebody ripped somebody off is the point I'm trying to get to. But I mean, there were plenty of Astro-boy video games.
There was this generation chart of people ripping each other off.
Oh, there's got to be. Well, like we talked about, we're not going to get into it again. Okay, so that's a brief history of. Also, apparently, the guy who made Astro-boy, a lot of the villains are kind of weird. For instance, the villain who appears in the film, Ham-Egg, is like a circus. He's like a circus owner originally. As the different shows and comics went on, he turned from owning a circus into owning a robot fighting ring. But he was persistently like abusive towards robots. Is the one personality trait that he is the character played by Nathan Lane in the film, and which actually I guess this is another mythology gag, which proves that the creators did care somewhat about Astro-boy. He's wearing like if you watch the scene where Astro-boy is fighting a bunch of robots in the robot ring. Like Alita is running over to robots in the robot ring, and the Alita Battle Angel by James Cameron. When Astro-boy is fighting a bunch of robots in the ring.
That didn't actually happen in the original Alita Battle Angel series.
Well, no, it didn't happen in the 2 episodes, Jacob, that they made as part of the original video animation. But I'm sure that happened at some point in the myriad of comics which happened after.
So in the scene.
In that scene, he is wearing a red like coat that has like this gold design, and he's wearing a big circus master top hat with like the it's like a hobo thing where the top has been punched out. Yeah. So that's
sure that his
it's a cool gag.
His hatred for robots is related to him losing his circus.
Yeah, is related to him at one point owning and then losing his circus somehow. But yeah, that's cool. But yeah, Ham-Egg. His name is Ham-Egg.
My son went in an accident and an android performed on him and he died.
Yeah, exactly. It's please tell me that his wife left him for an android. Is the it's the needless hatred of robots in really we should just fill this episode with references to Detroit.
Become Human.
Yeah, I was going to say 2023, but I think that's some. Is that part of the title, or am I remembering something else?
It is not a part of the title.
Okay, thank you. I
think that's the time it takes place.
There's that, and then there's another one of the villains is called Asseltine Lamp.
Asseltine Lamp, right?
And his name is it's a reference to an Asseltine lamp, which is a type of lamp used. And I think like the creator had a friend who had like a flat spot on the back of his skull because of some like injury or like lack of like bone there,
right.
And the two had like, and I guess him and his friend had a running gag about the friend having a lamp in his head. So yeah, the villains are weird.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. The villains for Astro-boy are strange to say the least.
It's just his name.
Asseltine Lamp, yep, pretty much.
For sure.
And that is a reoccurring character, by the way, like Ham-Egg, who appears in like every iteration of the property. Yeah. Oh, and another thing, I was thinking about not bringing this up, but about Atlas, his original motivation is that he was made by like a black scientist who wanted to get back at the world for slavery once existing. So that just tells you a little something about how the Japanese viewed the issue of slavery back in the 1950s. We're going to transition at this point to speaking about what was good or bad about this film. I, for one, I'm glad that they did not bring in what I just mentioned. I think that would be like career suicide at this point in history. But if you were bringing a movie in America, at least, I don't know about Japan. All right, so if we're going at where do we want to do first? Issues or what's good?
Issues.
Okay, issues. Issue number 1. So issue number 1, Kristen, was it Kristen Bell? Did I say it was Kristen Bell? Now I have to look up the IMDb again. I think it was Kristen Bell plays the character of Cora. Do you remember Cora?
Cora is the main daughter.
Yeah, it's Kristen Bell.
Yeah.
Oh, Kristen Bell. I was thinking of a different Kristen. Yeah, okay. She's not the daughter of anybody. She's like an emo 14-year-old. She has like a purple thing in her hair. Like one spot of her hair is purple, the rest is black. She's snarky.
Right, they just did. It's just a foster home.
She wears skinny jeans. It's part of an orphanage that Hamegg is running.
I knew who you were talking about.
Yeah. Oh, then why did you keep saying her name like Cora?
I said that once.
Oh, okay. Well, it sounded like you didn't. Yeah. So she is no real, I mean, she doesn't really have a character, is the thing. They talk about her having abandoned the Jetsons world at one point to live on the scrappy surface.
Did they say that?
Well, she comes from there because if you read the synopsis on the Astro-boy wiki regarding the 2009 film Astro-boy, her parents see her at the end of the film, like after Astro-boy has defeated the Peacemaker. Her parents are like in the crowd of people and they're like, Cora, we looked everywhere for you, right? And then she cries and she's like, you actually looked for me, you care about me. But it doesn't make any sense because it wasn't really like, that was never like implied earlier that she, like it's never explained how she ended up on the surface, why she abandoned her parents.
You know,
why
how
she
did
would take them back
humans survive on the surface?
Well, like, they have food. Like, you saw plants growing on the surface. It's not like total destruction. It's just a lot of junk. A lot of people living in poor living conditions, I guess.
That boring cesspool of humanity.
What a deplorable cesspool of humanity. Okay, so Cora's motivations are muddled at best. She just exists to be a love interest.
I mean,
is that fair to say?
She was barely even that.
A love interest. Cora was there. Yeah, she was there to be a love interest, and also, I guess, it's that thing where like this must be intentional, right? Where like the animators create a character, and they know that this character is like the ideal of what like young people like what. Like when you're going for when you're like in the 11 to 12 range and you're watching like animated films and you see a character and that like gets the blood pumping. You know what I'm talking about?
A relatable character?
No, I'm talking about I'm talking about like a character that you think is like attractive when you're younger.
A sexual figure?
Yeah, like a figure of. I mean, I don't want to go too deep into this, but I feel like that's part of what the character was.
So you're saying that Astro-boy uses Freudian psychology to manipulate his demographic? Yeah,
that might be giving them no, but I feel like that's like a commercial thing where they're like, well, he has to have a love interest, and it has to be like this cute girl who embodies these certain archetypes that we think that people like children. Preteens desire, right? So she's like, yeah, she's kind of a punk, and she has the purple thing in her hair, right? And she's kind of attractive, but she's not she's not super attractive because that would be weird. But they make her attractive enough that it evokes that.
I mean, I didn't find her
attractive. You're really gonna leave me out? I'm gonna die on this one, huh? Because of your inability.
This is one of the least sexual movies I've ever watched.
I'm not saying it's sexual. I'm saying like that's part of her purpose as a character. I think is to evoke that, is to be appealing, because you're supposed to relate to that, right? It's supposed to be like, this is what young love looks like to a 14-year-old. I don't know how.
And a robot.
Old. Yeah, and a robot. Which, now that I think about it, is kind of messed up. Like, on an existential level.
Yeah.
It's like...
I mean, that's just the bare concept of Astro-boy there.
Yeah, well, yeah.
How are we going to fix this movie?
I don't know, because the more I think about it, the more disturbing the whole thing becomes. So Cora doesn't really have a character. She just exists to be a love interest. Cora was not a very good love interest. What else? the political implications of the film make no sense. Like,
so
because the world is clearly dystopian, right? This is a dystopian world. There's a bunch of super people living in the sky, right? With like super powerful technology.
Correct.
And their whole society is super clean and everything.
That's right.
And it's based off this slave race of intelligent robots.
Why?
Well, it makes. I'm going to be like, yeah, it makes sense that human beings would go in this direction. It doesn't make sense that all the robots, like the bottle that shoots, it doesn't make sense that like the window cleaner robot is as intelligent as the robot that tutors children or the robot that clears debris. That doesn't make any sense. But that part makes sense. What doesn't make sense is like there's people living on the surface, right?
Right.
So is he part of like some weird like oligarchic fascist society? And if so, why is that not the conflict of the film?
No, they don't govern the surface. It's more like we don't
Gated
control
community?
you, and you give us space for throwing our trash.
Yeah, it's like a gated community.
Gated community.
He's living in the country club people. The white supremacist, super rich people living in the sky.
Uh-huh.
Why is that not the conflict of the film? The conflict of the film is this thing about the military inventing a machine that they don't need because they have super powerful technology. Who's going to fight them?
But in the end, the flying island drops to the bottom anyway.
Also, can I say, when a scientist turns to you and he's like, okay, we invented two things. One of them is renewable energy forever. The other one is this thing that is basically a black hole that just sucks things into it and gets larger. The renewable energy one is better for you from a military standpoint because you can make infinite weaponry using that.
I mean, you still need lots of metals, which is an actual rarity. But sure.
Yeah, that's true. You would, I guess not. It's not infinite because you do need the materials, but you have infinite energy that you can pump into materials. Yeah. As long as you can recycle the metal of what you've already used, you have weapons forever, and theoretically, the greatest weapon of all time.
And I mean, might be going a bit too far, but. With
if I had a cannon, imagine I had a cannon, right, that can shoot energy forever.
Right.
So I press a button and it starts firing and it doesn't stop.
Right.
I can just cut a hole through the planet with that.
Eventually.
You can't introduce infinite energy into a story and then be like, but it's stuck inside this one kid. So that's it. That's like the thing. Anytime they're like, okay, there's this super powerful magical artifact or super powerful. It's like the super soldier serum thing. Right. Where they're like, we injected Rogers with the super soldier serum and now he's the most powerful, he's the strongest and fastest man on the planet. Whoops, all the super serum potions are gone and the guy who made them is dead. So, and I guess he didn't make any research, so now we're screwed. That doesn't make any sense. You can't introduce something like that into the world and then take it away.
Right.
So the political implications of the film make no sense. I said they make sense when I wrote it down. They make no sense.
Less political, more just moral.
Well, it's also political because the army is involved and because the general of the army is like running for re-election as mayor. So it's just a city has its own army, right, which is under the control of the mayor.
Uh-huh.
The political implications of the film make no sense. The moral implication, well, we'll get into the moral first, but the social and technological implications of the film make no sense. And this is not I'm not like one of those people who's like, oh yes, everything in the film has to like make sense to me, a 21-year-old with a degree who thinks that I know better than the writers. No, it's not about it making sense like physically or like from a world building perspective. It's about it making sense from a story perspective. The political things which are involved in this film don't make sense from a story perspective because you're introducing infinite energy into the story Like, why would they ever let him go down to the surface? The military should have been like relentlessly hunting him to get back that piece of technology.
They were trying to.
Yeah, they did go back and get him eventually. But they should
had other stuff on.
They should have been trying a lot harder, is my point. And also the whole thing with the Peacekeeper, that's part of the story, but it doesn't make any sense.
Who are they fighting?
That's a good question. Are there rival city-states? Is it like Peter Jackson's Mortal Engines, where they're just flying cities around and they're all in a war with one another because they're competing over resources? What happened to the world that we got to this point? Was there some kind of apocalyptic event? Why are they living in the sky?
Because they want to keep away from the poor people.
It's like the film Elysium, starring Matt.
Oh, jeez.
Matt. What is it? Is it Matt Smith?
I don't know.
It's that guy who was in The Martian. It was James Bourne.
Matt Damon?
Matt Damon. It's like Elysium starring Matt Damon, except it makes less sense than Elysium didn't make any sense. It doesn't.
No, see, because
it's a metaphor for California and the Mexican border.
Did you actually hear that somewhere?
No, but here's the issue. That's what Elysium is. The film doesn't make any sense as a story. It only makes sense as a metaphor. And the issue with Astro-boy is that it is like Elysium, but they never acknowledge that. At no point in the film are they like, yeah, this is really messed up that we've been doing this. We need to fix this somehow. Instead, it's just implied at the end that everybody will get over their differences and that the robots will be free and the people on the ground won't have to live in trash anymore. That's not how you make a story. You can't bite off more than you can chew and then just be like, but don't worry, it was all fine in the end. So the social and technological implications of the film make no sense. The moral implications of the film make no sense. The whole building a robot to be somebody who is dead, right?
Yep.
Okay?
Right.
That's kind of messed up.
Yep.
Young girl falls in love with a robot who looks like a young boy who will never age, may I remind you. That's kind of messed up. You have infinite energy, right? Infinite energy. You know what that means? Utopia. You're going to put infinite energy inside a young boy, and it's going to stay inside him forever while people starve somewhere.
See,
makes no sense.
They didn't have anything else to put it in.
They could have built something, surely. They seem to have a lot of resources at their disposal.
They just had a spare android right there based on his son.
In the television show, it took them a year to build that thing.
Now, that was one of my ideas. It'll take them a year to build this android.
Yes.
With all the memories of the original kid, Toby. Right. And
because they live in like a post-YouTube Vine society where every moment is chronicled in a series of videos, and you can just Black Mirror style put all those videos into the head of an android and make. Yeah, you see why the moral implications of the film are bad. Also, robots being people. Again, with the morals, why are all of the robots as sentient as people are? That doesn't make... Who designed them to be that? It's like Westworld, but worse.
Because they need to actively get better at their jobs.
It doesn't make any sense. But they can just be good at their jobs forever.
No, but...
And never revolt against
eventually, they'd have to change their methods because things would become different. And that involves... No.
The moral implications of the film make no sense. The big conflicts of the film are poorly explained and barely resolved. Yeah, the robot thing doesn't make any sense. And then it's the irrational hatred of robots, which doesn't make any sense. And then they talk about, 50 years ago, there was I believe there must have been some kind of robot rebellion where the robots rose up and killed a bunch of people, presumably, because now all the robots are bound by no-killing laws. And that is never really explored in the film. It's implied to have happened at one point.
So if the Peacekeeper robot is old school,
no. The Peacekeeper robot was designed by the military. The big one that you're thinking of, the old school one, was called Zog, and he was like a bulldozer.
Zog?
Yeah,
the one that was powered by Astro-boy.
Yes,
and he said he's old school.
Yeah. The Peacekeeper was the one that General Stone, the bad guy, was building to protect the city from something. I'm sure. Actually, maybe this is a great indictment of the military-industrial complex. They just keep building weapons that they don't need. No,
that should be what the movie's about.
I was going to say that the movie should be about the conflict between the surface world and the above world, but sure.
No, we're not doing that. We're not having a flying city.
Let's note what's good about the film, and then we can get into our debate as to how to fix it. All right, so there's a couple of things. There's a love of science throughout the film. For instance, like when Astro-boy is like getting used to his home, right?
Right.
Him and the tutor robot. Yeah. They make a bunch of paper airplanes that are like based on Leonardo da Vinci's design, and they're throwing them around and watching them fly. And there's something else like that throughout the film where they're talking about where you can tell that there isn't a lot of science in this film, but like none of the technology makes any sense.
Apparently,
but the people who made the film seem to enjoy.
He has a robot detector that he just waved in front of him, and that's how he found out that he's a robot.
The people who made the film had enjoyed science, it seems like.
Yeah. So
there's that. There is a love of science in the film. There's some interesting ideas, like for instance the idea of like the robot sucks in General Stone, and then the robot has General Stone's personality where he's like, I'm running for re-election, right? He still thinks that even as he's a giant robot.
And he looks for Astro-boy. Yeah. And apparently he just comes back when the Peacekeeper's destroyed.
Oh, Astro-boy?
No.
No, he survives.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets shot out of the...
Oh, but not Toby.
Dead dimension. That's a good point.
That actually would have been a pretty interesting plot point.
Oh, if Astro-boy died when the two cores connected, but then Toby came back out through the dimensional door, and he was fine, just like General Stone.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "I'm sorry, Cora, I don't know who you are. I'm going to go live in my palace in the sky, and you'll never see me again." Oh, if this wasn't traumatic. No, I'm going to. I mean, I guess that's an idea to keep on the back burner. Anyway, there's a love of science in the film. There's interesting ideas.
The action's fun.
The action is fun. There are interesting ideas. The level stinker. Yeah, there's parts of this film that are definitely memorable. There's parts that are not memorable at all, I think, but there are parts that do make an impression.
Like that one thing that happened. Remember that? That wasn't very memorable.
It wasn't as good as that other part with the nachos. So what else? Is there anything else that's good about this film? Nicolas Cage is... I don't know what I was going to say about Nicolas Cage. Is in this film. I think that's it. I guess another thing we should write down is it's very, very cliche. Yeah, like there's a lot of relying on industry tropes. Okay, so in terms of fixes, so you said specifically you don't want there to be a conflict between the surface world and the sky world.
Right, it's too messed up. There are too many variables we would have to deal with. This would have to be a completely different movie. We can't have Astro-boy and a flying city.
Can't we? Astro-boy can fly. He can be the diplomat, the bridge between two worlds.
I don't like the idea.
I mean, if you don't like the idea, then we don't have to do it. I just thought that this is the main conflict of the film. I guess There's too many conflicts in this film. This should be the main conflict of the film because it seems like the most important aspect of the world that they built. If you want to demolish that and be like everybody's living on the surface and this technology is available to everyone and they live in a techno utopia, then I'm fine with that as well. I want to give you as much creative control as I have. So,
I mean,
or something like that. It doesn't have to be specific.
We could still have a conflict between the first and working class, but the flying city is so cliche. It's overused and it's cheap.
Well, it's a good. Yeah, I guess. I mean, anyone who's watched Alita Battle Angel, written by James Cameron, has experienced that.
Or every other sci-fi anime.
Oh, is that in multiple others?
Yeah.
Oh, you've actually watched other anime where there's a floating city. Okay, then. Oh, so you think they just took that idea from other anime that were not Astro-boy, and they're like, this makes sense, and they plugged it into the movie that they made?
Probably.
Okay, all right. Actually, I should write down. There are fun references to the original work. There are references if you are a fan, which I guess I'm not. Okay, so fix.
I mean, in modern standards, you're the closest to a fan as anyone will get.
Yeah, that's right, because they're all dead. Take that, fans of Astro-boy. There are no flying city. What if the city is underground? I'm just trying to come up with a visual distinction between the working class who live in techno garbage land and the Jetsons people.
Okay, what if they
live on the moon?
They live on the moon.
Or maybe that's too Wall-E.
Maybe it isn't Wall-E enough.
We need to go full Wall-E. Astro-boy falls in love with another robot.
Ooh. Now that's an idea.
It could be a sister if we want to make it a real anime. All right, so I mean there doesn't have to be a visual distinction, but I feel like there should be like a giant dome, maybe. Like if we want to show this place is super futuristic and these people are not, then there needs to be it shows, this is what their technology allows them to do. Is the people who live in the super technological paradise, they are advanced in some way. And it can be that they're floating above the ground, or it can be that they're on the moon, or it can also just be like a giant dome. There needs to be some visual distinction, I feel like. Because also it means then somebody can't just walk into the wrong neighborhood.
Yeah.
There could be a giant wall.
All these things have been
Sneedville style.
Yeah, that's
well.
What
Look, Jacob.
They've all been done before.
Look, Jacob. We're not the first people to create a dystopia. All right. So if you wanna make a technological dystopia, there has to be some I feel like there has to be some visual distinction between the people who live in the bad part of this dystopia and the people who benefit from this.
It doesn't seem like it's about Astro-boy anymore.
Well, I mean, okay, do you want it to be not that? We can make it not that, but
I wanted to.
The issue here, okay?
What's the issue?
Here's the issue. One guy has access to the technology and resources to rebuild his son and place some kind of energy. It doesn't have to be infinite energy, but place energy into that boy's body to possess him and make him basically Superman. In order for that to be a thing that makes sense in the world, it's implied that the technology of the people who created Astro-boy is sufficient that the creation of Astro-boy is not a world-breaking thing for them. It's not like Superman flew down. It's not like Superman flew down into the 1950s and was like, I'm super strong and I'm invincible to everything.
Okay, so what's common in what happens a lot. Okay, here's the thing. In this world, a lot of monsters attack the world.
Yes.
Because aliens be violent. And
it doesn't have to necessarily just be aliens, but sure, go ahead.
Okay. So the dad makes a deal with the military that they'll rebuild his son as long as he's able to fight off the aliens.
See, what I was thinking is that, if we're gonna, if you want to put the character of Atlas in the film, in terms of taking stuff from the original mythology and reworking it into a film,
Okay.
the character of Atlas would make sense because he could be a villain. He's like General Zod. He's like the counterpoint to Astro-boy.
Yeah.
And then he can be redeemed at the end of the film, and it would make sense that, like, because Atlas is like more weaponized than Astro-boy is, it would make sense that the
more weaponized.
Yeah, he's got like jet like things sticking out of his back, I think, and he can like do something. I'm sure more. I think they mentioned that he has like certain powers that Astro-boy doesn't.
Okay.
So if we wanted to make it that the military built him,
yeah. Okay, so they're making a whole army of kids
built. Well, this is just turning into spy kids, Jacob.
Because they want to make the weapons likable, so the civilians will thumbs up it.
Well, see, what I was going to say is that Astro-boy, they like see, oh, hey, that Astro-boy sure is powerful. If only we had something like that. And it's like the Superman thing where they're like, we're going to build our own through our technology. But I like your thing as well. If actually Astro-boy is just like a peacekeeper. If there's like the peacekeepers and they're these child robots and they're supposed to be friendly to people and people naturally trust them. Okay. And they're like, I protect this neighborhood and don't do this, this, and this, or you'll get in trouble, right?
Like Sonic.
Is that what Sonic is?
There's a Sonic Says, remember that?
No, I don't. I don't know anything about Sonic.
Right. Okay, Sonic used...
Except that he likes corn dogs.
The cartoon used to... Chili dogs. The cartoon used to have PSAs... of when Sonic told them to,
That's what you mean by, like Sonic.
Remember the reference in Wreck-It Ralph.
Well, then really this is just like so I'm trying to, this is like something else where it's like they built a bunch of robots and then this one defects and becomes the hero of the story. I'm trying to remember what that is. It's technically the Iron Giant, because in the Iron Giant, in the deleted scene, it's implied that aliens created an army of Iron Giants and they use them to just go from world to world and destroy people that they don't like.
I mean, that was the explanation for it. That's what you would assume.
Yeah, I guess. Well, he was sent there as a weapon, but I guess in the deleted scene it shows there's like armies of the Iron Giants and they destroy world just by punching them.
Okay. So.
Yeah, so the military. So so this is a dystopian society then. If they're building a bunch of child robots to be likable to people,
right?
So what is the delineation between? Also, what war are they fighting that they need super powerful? Or I guess it's not a war, more as they're just like the super powerful police because there is no war in this world.
They're fighting the monsters.
Are there going to have to be monsters if Atlas is going to be the main bad guy?
If Atlas is the main bad guy, then I suppose.
I mean,
is Atlas created by the same military?
I was going to say yes. My suggestion would be that he is a new, he's like 1.5.
Right.
Like Astro-boy is 1.0, he is 1.5. Okay. He's like the prototype. Yeah. And then Astro-boy convinces him to, not be a bad guy, and he flies off.
Okay.
And to figure his shit out.
Okay.
But the alternative is, if you want it to be that Astro-boy is part of some assembly line of these protector robots and is part of this dystopian society, then it can totally be that there is no such thing as Atlas and that the bad guys are just the dystopian society, and then Astro-boy has to fight a bunch of clones of himself.
No, I want Atlas to be in it.
Okay. Atlas is the 2.0 version
and
of the Peacekeeper.
So
initiative.
So the existence of the military is for fighting monsters, right?
Okay, we have two ways we can go with this. If we want it to be that there are aliens attacking the Earth, then that can totally be it, and that these Peacekeeper robots are designed to kill aliens. Mm-hmm. We can also make it that there's no war in this world, and that these Peacekeeper robots are just designed to keep the peace, to stop people from Scrap World coming into the suburban paradise.
Okay, yeah, that's better. Do that.
Okay. So the peacekeepers are used to keep the people from Scrap World from coming into Jetsonsville. Should we call it Metro City like they do in the film?
It's actually called Metro City.
Yeah, City. Much like the city in Megamind. City. We don't have to go over the name for it if you don't want to.
What about Citypolis? Citypolis. No, that's dumb.
Niceville?
Niceville. Largeville.
Largeville?
Smallville.
Oh, okay, I get you. Science Town?
Science Town. Science Town's fine.
Fragrant Hills. I don't know. Some futuristic suburban name.
Happy Little Neighborhood.
It could be just called The Neighborhood.
The neighbor. Okay, yeah, call it The Neighborhood.
And then the place where Cora and Hameg and people can live can be called Scraptown.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Wait, when are they coming?
Well, I'm imagining after whatever happens to Astro-boy happens, he ends up in Scraptown.
Mm.
And then, they all try to kill him because they think he's a peacekeeper. Right?
Yeah.
And then Astro-boy learns something about human empathy.
Okay.
And then he breaks into the neighborhood to steal a bunch of food for the people in Scraptown.
Okay. Sure.
And then he defeats, I guess, he defeats all the other peacekeepers, so they deploy Atlas. Yeah. And they fight. And then Atlas goes rogue and goes after Astro-boy, and then big fight, conclusion of film.
Okay. When does Uran come in?
Oh, that's a good point. Does Uran exist in this version?
I was thinking she would be another peacekeeper.
Oh, like they're boys and girls?
Yeah.
That would make sense. So she's another peacekeeper. At what point does she enter the film, though? Does she get sent to kill him?
I assume she would have I thought she would have a jurisdiction in Scrap Land.
Well, Scrap. What so what I was imagining is the peacekeepers are used to keep people from Scraptown used to deter the people of Scraptown from coming into the neighborhood.
Okay.
So they don't go into Scraptown. They just go along the border of the neighborhood and make sure that nobody gets any ideas.
So
anyone who doesn't have a special badge.
What if they're working together and they already know each other, but when Astro-boy gets thrown out, she's
gets sent to kill him? Go ahead with your idea.
I was thinking that she would.
Yes. She falls in love with him.
Jeez. I forgot.
You forgot what you were going to say?
Yeah.
Well, we can come back to it if you want.
She, Yeah, you go on.
The movie that we made is really messed up. I don't know if this is a child-appropriate film.
Does it have to be a child-appropriate film?
Well, no. I guess not. But, if we make it as violent as I feel like it has to be...
It doesn't have to be violent.
Well, it's really
this is why I didn't want to have the middle-class thing.
There's no middle class in this world, Jacob.
Yeah.
But...
The classism. Elitism.
Yeah, but I like the idea, but the idea of there's a bunch of child robots.
Yeah.
Or robots designed to look like children because it's more psychologically pleasing.
Yeah.
And they presumably will kill you if you come into the wrong area. That's what they're designed for, is to kill people or restrain them at the very least.
Yeah, but still look charismatic.
But still be charismatic. That's disturbing.
Yeah.
It's a disturbing look into classism and also the police force and also children.
Yeah. but they accidentally added sentience, and that's where they went wrong.
Well, imagine something like there's some kind of defect, like something goes wrong.
Okay.
I don't know how or why.
Because
we should figure that out. Is it that like So here's a question: is Astro-boy's father going to appear in this film? Dr.
Now, what I assumed was that he would have created Astro-boy with his son in mind, his dead son, who died.
He was killed by somebody from the scrap town. No, Atoro Tenma. Umatataro Tenma is the name of Dr. Tenma.
Dr. Tenma.
The guy who built Astro in the original. Oh my gosh.
I don't know how Toby would.
But if they all look at the same, right? So do they have like a model? These are the boy peacekeepers. These are the girl peacekeepers, and they all look exactly alike. Or do they all not look exactly alike? Or are they slightly different because otherwise it'd be creepy?
Yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah, they would each have different things, like they're a team or something.
So they're all slightly different?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's all right. Well, but I don't think it should be that he was designed by a guy for his dead son, because if he was made in an assembly shop of people, if he was made by like an HR team, then with an HR team in mind, that doesn't make sense that he would be that way.
Unless he was in the HR team.
Dr. Tenma?
Yeah.
Well, that could be a possibility, but I feel like that's kind of like complicated, and I'm not sure where that gets us.
Okay, what if there's no Toby?
Yes.
And this
is what I'm imagining.
Yeah. So he was just created by Dr. Tenma.
Here's what I'm thinking. Right?
Yeah.
Toby is the name assigned to this version, this peacekeeper.
Yeah.
Specifically. Okay, so they all have one name,
yeah.
right? Like one of them is Uran. And Toby is so like Dr. Tenma is working on Atlas, right?
Uh-huh.
She's working on creating Atlas, and something goes wrong at the lab, and the Atlas prototype goes on a rampage. Toby responds to the scene. Toby gets like shot with some special energy. Dr. Tenma later like examines Toby to see what the energy causes his machine to do, and finds out that he's acting a certain way. Then Dr. Tenma tries to like conceal that fact that Toby is acting differently than the other ones. Tenma gets killed. Toby runs away from the neighborhood, ends up in Scrap Town.
Now, so we don't want this to be child friendly.
He could be killed and could still be child friendly.
I mean,
how many people die in children's films? All of them.
Sure. But we won't be able to say he was killed.
We can imply it strongly.
Yeah, we'll strongly imply it.
We'll show
just like in every Disney movie.
Yeah, well, like, you know the point in The Secret of Nim where the giant stone falls on Nicodemus and crushes him flat?
Yeah.
Something like that.
One of many possible examples. All right.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm imagining the disturbing thing about this is that the people who would kill him would be the peacekeepers.
Right.
There would be like a blonde-haired little boy robot, and he would walk up and his hand would transform into a gun, and he would say, Dr. Tenma, you are no longer part of the neighborhood, or something like that. You've been it's not exiled, or like your lease has expired. Your lease in the neighborhood has expired, and then he would shoot him.
I was trying to think of something cute, but no.
You see how disturbing it is?
Yeah.
It's like child soldiers, but worse.
Yeah, child soldiers, but worse.
Actually, it's more like it's
better because
they can't die. They're robots. Yeah, they don't have any sense of feeling. Yeah, you're right. They're machines. I was gonna say it's like Nazi child spies. But yeah. So okay. So Toby responds to the scene after. Okay, so here's the question then. So Toby comes while the Atlas prototype is going haywire, right?
Yeah.
Is he the only person who comes? Because if Uran comes, then she could also get shocked by the same energy, but then she doesn't get investigated by Tenma, and then she knows that she has the energy, and she knows that she's acting weird, but she doesn't want to get shut down because she's malfunctioning. And then she can go after Astro-boy to like... Because otherwise, him like redeeming her would be him giving her part of the energy that's in him, which I'm also fine with, but which is a better version?
Yeah, I want to do that.
The first one or the second one?
The second one.
Okay. So she's a mindless killing machine until he gives her the energy.
Uh-huh.
All right. So Toby responds to the scene when the Atlas prototype goes haywire and starts attacking scientists. Toby gets blasted with I'm sure there's a name for what the energy was in the film, but I think they just called it the blue core. Did we want to come up with a name for whatever Atlas's energy is? Like the Omega particle.
Sure. I mean, is it really the type of energy that's causing the sentience?
Well, what's the alternative? That he like touches Atlas and they have like the Atlas transmutes some of his program or something?
Yes.
So it's the Omega program?
Yes. Omega program.
Okay, Toby wrestles with...
A 0 instead of a 1.
Wrestles with Atlas. Yeah, exactly. Wrestles with Atlas, and Atlas... Because Atlas doesn't want to get shut down. The Atlas prototype doesn't want to get shut down.
Right.
Atlas puts... sends some of his program into Toby. The Omega program. Tenma, who is horrified by what he's created, the Atlas, after seeing it in action.
Yeah.
I am Death, Destroyer of Worlds. Who is horrified by
I am become
what
Death, Destroyer of
he
Worlds.
has created, but knows he can't quit.
I don't know why it has that weird grammatical error.
I don't know that it does.
So that isn't grammatically incorrect. It's grammatically correct.
I am Death.
I am become Death, Destroyer of Worlds.
Let me look it up. Yeah, by J. Robert. Yes, the Manhattan Project. Oppenheimer. So nice. What did it say about the thing? Yeah, years later. Okay. So, Oppenheimer later recalled that while witnessing the explosion, he thought of a verse of the Bhagavad Gita. So it's a so both of
Yes,
these,
I know. It's from the Hindu Bible.
Yeah. So it is I am become Death, Destroyer of Worlds, because it's translated from that language into English.
So that's it?
Yes, that's the reason why it is that way. Tenma, who is horrified by what he has created but knows he can't quit, examines Toby after the battle, knows that something is wrong, but conceals it from... Is the bad guy going to be called Stone?
Stone?
That's what his name was in the film, General Stone. It could be General Asseltine.
Yeah, let's call him General Asseltine.
Conceals it from General Asseltine. or acetylene, I think. No, it's acetylene, I think, is what acetylene, general acetylene. So he conceals it for general acetylene. Tenma runs a bunch of tests on Toby. They form a bond. Acetylene finds out. A bunch of peacekeepers get sent to kill Tenma and capture Toby for study.
Because Atlas is still on a rampage.
Well, I'm imagining Atlas has been shut down.
Atlas has been shut down?
Yeah, Atlas is shut down, and Tenma and Elephant are still working on Atlas.
Right.
At this point, because the mayor, right, acetylene, he's not general, Mayor Acetylene does not, Mayor Acetylene does not, still wants this thing to work. So this is just version 1.0 failed. They're going to keep trying.
So, no.
Yeah, so that's why they want to capture Toby, because it's clearly working at some extent. So I'm imagining the Omega program that they've created is supposed to help it like respond to situations.
Yeah.
So the Omega program is like the Omega program simulates free thought through a random algorithm.
But then it turns out it is free thought?
No, it doesn't have to.
So Toby isn't actually thinking?
No.
Jeez. Well then...
But he is so advanced that at a point it doesn't matter.
Sure.
What I'm thinking is, yeah, like the program was created to give it problem-solving skills.
Right.
Like more advanced problem-solving skills than the previous Peacekeepers.
Yeah. So
it kind of gives it a personality in that it remembers things.
Okay.
It has memories, and it uses those to fix problems, and it responds to situations in certain ways because of that.
But that sort of adapts itself into opinions?
Possibly.
Okay.
I mean, the science of like building a robot that's just like about the size of a child that can then has like gas tanks in it that allow it to fly for extended periods of time does not make any sense. Okay, we're assuming
the future,
that the technology that they're using is beyond what we currently have.
We'll have a fuel of propulsion that won't require tanks of gas.
But so you're assuming that they've reached a point of technological advancement that they can create a program which basically simulates the way our brain works.
Right. I was just questioning the reason behind why they would be so sophisticated.
Well, I think it would make sense that they would want a more sophisticated thing to respond, because it could be like, or they can discuss at one point in the film with a scene between, there is a scene where Acetylene talks to Elephant and Tenma about robots, about the people in Scrapland basically are starting to catch up. And that means that they could build any number of like threats against the neighborhood because their understanding of technology is starting to advance. They don't know why it's advancing. They just know that it is. The weapons that they're using to attack the neighborhood are becoming more advanced. And they need to be able to respond to more fluid threats. So they need a machine that can respond to any situation.
There's a persistent threat coming from Scraptown.
Yes.
To the neighborhood.
The neighborhood is all the food. So, yeah, there's a persistent threat. I mean, the people in Scraptown, there is food there. There just isn't a lot of it.
Okay. My idea about Atlas was that instead of just keeping Scraptown people out of the neighborhood, it actively
destroyed them.
Yeah.
Well, that can be Acetyleen's plan.
Yeah.
It can be that he tells Elephant and Tenma that they need something that can respond to a greater multitude of threats. But his ultimate plan, like the general from the movie Ants with a Z, starring Woody Allen, is to send this thing to go and kill those people. He wants an unstoppable killing machine.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So there's a scene when talks to Tenma.
Christopher Walken in that movie?
Oh, the
Ants.
yes, he played, I think, the right-hand man to the general, who had like a really raspy voice. Yeah. There's a scene where Acetyleen talks to Elephant and Tenma about the people of Scraptown becoming more technologically sophisticated.
Yeah.
And it makes sense that he wants to kill all of them because they've reached a point where they just have machines do all their manual labor. So they don't need a lower class. Those people are therefore obsolete. So we should just remove them because they pose a threat to what we have.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, that's racist, but sure.
Well, it's not. It doesn't have to necessarily do with race. It has to do with the exploitation of how capitalism works. The ultimate goal of the capitalist is to make.
I'm slowly changing the connotation of the word race.
Stop it! Becoming more technologically advanced, and it can be that they are becoming more technologically advanced, but definitely he might be. He's exaggerating for the purposes of getting them to build this war machine for him.
Sure.
Because he's trying to do this peacefully at first. He's only going to threaten Elephant at like gunpoint to finish this thing for him after Tenma betrays him, basically.
Right.
So Tenma tells Toby to run and never come back.
Never come back. Because
Simba moment. Tenma gets shot by the peacekeepers who inform him he has been evicted from the neighborhood.
In a really disturbing way.
Yeah.
You know what? That doesn't have to happen. That might be pushing it.
Salt in the wound?
Salt in the wound, yeah.
But I still feel like it should happen to emphasize the horror of the situation, to emphasize later steps that are taken in the movie.
Yeah.
What was it with the neighborhood? Toby barely escapes after getting shot twice.
In the butt?
After getting shot in the leg and shoulder. He crashes into the mounds of trash outside the perimeter.
Yeah.
And gets like a trash robot picks him up and dumps him into a
giant Wally.
A giant Wally rolls up and picks him up and dumps him into a big canister full of trash, and gets picked up by a giant trash robot.
That scene was confusing for a child.
Oh, the giant Wallies?
Yeah.
You thought it was just perspective?
Yeah.
Okay. Giant trash robot. Yeah, there we go. He ends up in Scraptown. Hamegg. Yeah, the circus owner. Yeah. Hamegg makes...
circus owner.
Okay, so here's a question, right? Is Hamegg going to be a villain in this film?
No.
He's going to be a good guy.
Well, no.
No.
He's going to be...
neutral.
A minor obstacle.
Okay. So he is going to do bad things.
Yeah, bad things.
Okay. So Hamegg makes minor repairs to Toby, and Cora can be his assistant. Cora is Hamegg's apprentice,
and she's older.
Is sure.
Yeah.
Do you want to be like 18 or something?
Yeah. So instead of the romantic relationship,
you're talking about big sister?
Yeah, or maternal even.
How much older do you want her to be?
I mean, 18 at most.
At most.
At most.
Okay. Cora's Heming's apprentice. She is around 18. She has conversations with. She knows. Yeah, she looks at Toby's programming and sees there is something wrong with it. Sees there is something wrong with him, but hides it from Hammock. So is Hammock going to be running a robot fighting ring? Because I'm imagining in this version, he's just fixing up Toby to perform in a fighting ring because he needs cash.
Yeah.
It's just like, I found this robot in the dump. I found this broken down peacekeeper in the dump. Yeah. Peacekeepers are super strong. Just throw that in the ring and I'll make my money back.
Right, and then
he's just like a small fry.
At the end of his story arc, he goes like all angry, and he breaks down, and he's like, "Fine, release him, let him live his life."
Oh, Hammock?
Yeah.
He said that kind of like Nathan Lane, which I appreciate. So like he has like a soft spot that Cora gets to where he comes to, he's like, this, we shouldn't keep this thing here.
Okay.
It needs to be. Yeah.
Okay.
So Hammock makes minor repairs to Toby and puts a collar on him. Or like inserts like a chip.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. And
collar.
Inserts, well, I don't know. I don't know what kind of technology they have down there. Inserts a chip into
apparently very good technology.
Overrides his programming. Cora is Hammock's apprentice. She hides from Hammock. She has conversations. She has conversations with Toby after he begins to win in the ring.
Okay.
She talks about, she's like supporting her younger sister and younger brother.
Yeah.
She talks about supporting her family. Toby talks about having a dad.
Yeah.
And she begins like testing him to like see, like Tenma was, to see the limitations of his intelligence.
Okay. I mean, in the original... No, never mind.
Imagining at this point, we cut back to the neighborhood. Acetylene threatens Elephant's like grandchildren and tells him to finish work on Atlas. Acetylene calls 5 peacekeepers into his office.
Yeah.
Tells them about Toby and tells them to find and destroy him. Or bring him back. Or I guess no, because he thinks he doesn't need him at this point. It depends.
I mean,
tells them to bring him back.
Because bring him back. Because
he wants to finish Atlas as soon as possible.
Yeah, and Scraptown being a persistent threat, it wouldn't be great to leave a peacekeeper there.
Yeah, no, it can be that they've been searching for him, but it hasn't worked so far. And then maybe the peacekeepers have been searching for Toby, but haven't found anything recently. And then Uran comes to him and reports having she can have recorded a conversation between a couple of Scraptown people discussing the newest robot in the ring and the way it acted and stuff.
Yeah.
She plays an audio clip for him in his office, and he tells Uran to go and robot equivalent of tranquilize Toby and bring him back.
Yeah.
And it can be that Toby is going under the name Astro-boy for the rain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Uran gets sent to incapacitate Toby and bring him back. Yeah, okay, and then I'm imagining, so then, like whoever's like the head honcho.
Yeah.
I'm sure we could find the name of a character. Yeah, like I'm imagining like the head guy, the guy who's in charge of Scraptown, is like, "Hey, Meg, I'm going to buy this robot off of you for like the equivalent of $10,000 because that robot is going to help us destroy those people out there."
Yeah.
Right, and Hameg is like, "Yeah, sure, you can have him." Right, and then like that's an insane amount of money, and then Cora feels reluctant about it. Because they're going to like reprogram him to kill the people in the neighborhood, basically. Yeah. They're going to do the reverse of what acetylene wants to do to them.
Acetylene?
Yeah. Or that's their plan anyway. They're going to try and duplicate his technology so that they can make their own legion of peacekeepers.
Yeah.
So what's the name of this head honcho guy? Let me look. Hamag. What are some characters connected to Hamag? His affiliation with some guy named Skunk.
What was that social revenge scientist?
The guy who made Atlas. I mean, I don't really want to invoke that, but sure. Dr. Ram was the name of the person who made him.
No, not a doctor, I guess. Yeah.
Well, it could be that the name of the guy is Ram, if you want.
Well, that wouldn't really make sense.
The leader of Scraptown is Ram. Could be that the leader is it could be Osamu.
Osamu. All right. Osamu.
Okay, Osamu offers to pay 10,000 credits for Astro-boy.
Why is it always credits?
Because it means money. 10,000 credits for Astro-boy. Hamag breaks out the fine champagne.
I want to see a dystopian future when they're using dollars.
Fine, $10,000.
No.
10,000 yen.
Credits. Okay. Okay.
For Astro-boy. Hamag breaks out the fine champagne, but Cora looks depressed. Hamag tells Astro-boy he's going to be sold for a lot of money. And at this point, I'm imagining they have like their own workshop because they made so much money off of him winning in the ring.
Okay.
Like they started in like a ramshackle operation, but now they like own a house.
Oh, okay.
Like before they were in a basement, now they have their own building. Yeah. For a lot of money. Then Uran attacks.
Mm.
Astro-boy fights her. Astro-boy attacks. Astro-boy fights her. Astro-boy incapacitates her. Korra sees if she can move the program. She can duplicate the Omega program and send it into Uran's body.
Yeah.
It works, and she tries to convince Hamegg to let her use the robots for something other than killing.
Yeah.
Hamegg tells her that Osamu will kill both of them if they don't give him Astro.
And you know I can. I'm the mayor of Scraptown.
Well, he's not in the room when they're having this conversation. This is all he sent them, like a hologram, basically, being like, "Bring him to me at 8:27 on Thursday."
Turn him to the dark side.
Exactly, you got it. And then this is a really long episode. We'll try and wrap it up, but yeah, then I'm imagining Korra she kidnaps the two of them,
yeah,
and sends them into the neighborhood to steal a bunch of food and bring it back so she can feed her children and the other children that live on her block.
Yeah,
and then so Korra kidnaps them. Toby and Uran invade the neighborhood and steal a bunch of food for the children of Scraptown. Acetylene is incensed. Yeah, acetylene.
I feel like his name changes every time.
Acetylene is incensed. Incensed and sends an army after them. But the Omega program allows Toby and Uran to defeat most of the peacekeepers. Peacekeepers. Yeah. And steal a bunch of food. And then, or I'm imagining, and Toby and Uran have a moment where Toby is afraid to go back into the neighborhood because Tenma told him never to go and never come back. And then Uran takes his hand and tells him it's going to be all right, and they're doing a good thing.
Yeah.
Stiffly because they're robots.
Yeah.
Because of Tenma's last orders. But Uran convinces him to go with her. Because they were doing a good thing.
Alright.
Yeah. Alright, now I'm imagining Osamu is he holds. I'm imagining him and his men grab Hamegg and Korra to lure the robots out, basically.
Uh-huh.
And restrain Hamegg and Korra and tell Toby and Uran to help and order to shut themselves down. And then I'm imagining. So then we have a scene where the neighborhood media, because there's only one like newspaper, is roasting acetylene because he let their food get stolen.
Yeah. They're roasting acetylene.
They're because he's the mayor. They're like, look at this jackass.
Okay.
He's just horrible at his job. He needs to be impeached. That's what they're doing.
Because this was a dystopian world, I wasn't sure what type of roasting you were.
Oh, okay. About. No. He's got to live long enough to deploy Atlas before Atlas is ready to try and destroy Scraptown and kill the two of them.
Yeah. Okay.
He's roasting acetylene because he let their food get stolen. Acetylene ignores Elephant's like warnings and starts up Atlas before he is ready. Yeah.
But that was stupid because he still has the Omega program. Or does he?
Atlas? Well, he has like a different version of the Omega program.
Right.
Like they got the earlier version of the Omega program. Atlas is running on a different system by now. Like it's been changed over the iterations. Program. Yeah. It's the what?
The IOTA program.
The IOTA program. Yeah. The Zeta program or something. I don't know. One is telling me to shut themselves down. Before a fight can ensue, Atlas appears and informs everyone, and like he does like that. If you remember Age of Ultron, where he's like floating above the city and he's speaking all really loudly
versus all of me.
Well, he's speaking really loudly and he's like, "This is your moment," when he's like the Archangel of Death.
Yeah.
This is your moment when you will know my power, basically. Yeah. And Atlas appears and floats overhead.
That could have been a really good movie.
Everyone, we'll get to it eventually, Jacob. Tells everyone to. Well, we did. Did we do that?
No.
You didn't do that for. Are you sure?
No, I don't know. I would have remembered.
All right, we need to do that.
Yeah.
Atlas appears and floats. I thought we did. Didn't I remember?
I think the problem because it's a part of a cinematic universe.
Yeah. Okay. Atlas appears and floats overhead, telling everyone to scatter and run like rats. Before he his eyes laser beam and he starts destroying the town like one building at a time.
Yeah. Because he's angry. And he hates life.
Well, he's been programmed to destroy this specific town.
Sure.
This is his main purpose.
But he still has the...
He has the Omega program, but he doesn't understand empathy.
Right. Right, sure.
Just getting around like right since he begins destroying the town. Then I'm imagining Osamu and his men drop Hamag Genkora and team up with Toby and Uran to save the town. Osamu gets killed in the process.
Haha!
And Toby realizes what really civilian casualties look like. He grabs Atlas and flies him out of there.
And they have a meaningful conversation.
They crash into the neighborhood. And Atlas proves to be incomplete as he tears through peacekeepers and endangers people's lives. Because at this point, because the program is not working in his head the way that they wanted it to, basically.
Yeah.
He's still incomplete.
Okay.
Atlas proves to be incomplete as he tears through peacekeepers and sets fire to buildings. And then I guess Toby has to share some of his program with Atlas. And I'm imagining Korra is the one who tells him how to do that.
Right.
Is this a sacrifice movie? Does Astro-boy die at the end of this film?
I mean, no.
Okay. So Korra speaks to him over his computer brain and tells him how to transmit the tells him he has to transmit the Korra tells Toby to transmit the program. Toby enlists Elephant's help in transmitting the program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
After Atlas kills Acetylene for getting in the way.
And making him feel this way.
Yeah, and for... Yeah, he blames him for not for not being able to understand anything or enjoy anything.
Yeah.
He blames him for being for everything.
All right.
And then Toby hooks up a wire between the two of them and transmits his program into Atlas. Atlas damages Toby. He breaks in part of his skull piece.
Right. I'm thinking this is the climax when they're fighting.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're using their weapons.
Their abilities, yes.
Yeah.
This is the climax. They're fighting.
Scissor fingers.
Flying around the scientific lab and smashing through walls. Yeah. Scissor fingers.
Mm-hmm.
Bubbles come out of the thumb. Yeah. Yep, you got it. Go gadget, toothpaste gun. Atlas damages Toby before
a punching glove
program finishes running. Atlas returns to Scraptown with Toby and Elephant. And Elephant tells Korra that they can fix Toby.
Yeah. Okay.
Atlas looks at this. Atlas looks at the destruction he has caused and flies off, never to be seen or heard from again. Hopefully,
until a sequel.
Yeah, until Astro-boy 2. Where aliens invade, and then the monsters come in.
Yeah.
Toby is and then I guess happy ending. We have a weird little home with Uran and Toby and Korra and Korra's younger siblings and Ham Egg and Elephant. Yeah. Ends on a normal breakfast in a weird family house, and then we pull out and see that there's a big billboard that the people of Scraptown have made that says this town is under the protection of Astro-boy and Astro-girl.
Oh. No, we may not have solved the inequality crisis, but at least we have robot kids.
The equivalent of the Black Panthers.
Yeah.
Sorry, the Black... I don't want to make more enemies than I need to tonight, so I'm just going to stay quiet. The big billboard that says this town is under the protection of Astro-boy and Astro girl. Done. And there we go.
And then the Eye of the Beholder comes in.
Yeah, and then we snap cut to the teaser for Astro Boy 2, which it shows like a I'm trying to think. I guess Atlas, like somewhere distant in like a tropical region, right?
Yeah.
And he's like watching like a bug crawl across his arm very intently, and then he hears like a loud noise, and he looks up in the sky as a spaceship slowly invades Earth's atmosphere for the first time.
I mean, maybe we should invest a bit of time on Astro Boy lore, but that.
The other thing I was imagining was like a Trump-style speech happening in the neighborhood where someone's like, we need to reestablish, because like the neighborhood is trashed.
Yeah,
they lost a bunch of food.
Yeah.
The science lab has gotten destroyed, and all the research on the Atlas project was destroyed. The
military's gone.
The mayor is dead. The mayor is dead, and most of the peacekeepers have been destroyed. So their town is in ruins, basically. Yeah. So I'm imagining some guy standing on a soapbox, a podium, being like, we're going to get them back, or something like that. So do we do one of those things or both of them? For the teaser, for the non-existent sequel, that will never happen. It doesn't really matter.
The first one sounds more fantastical.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you want to do the first one?
Yes.
Okay. We get a teaser with Atlas on a tropical island, watching a beetle crawl across his forearm. He looks up and sees alien ships arriving in the distance. Done. Okay, cool. And that is our rewriting of Astro Boy.
Man. Sorry if you expected something different.
Well, I'm sure if you're a fan of Astro Boy, you're like, this isn't like the show, and this isn't like the comic, and this is absurd, this is worse than the movie was, and so on and so forth.
I mean, it can't be worse than the movie was.
Wow. I mean, I don't think the movie is that bad. It's like, it's not very good, but
it isn't better than this.
I would rather watch this than watch the movie again, but yeah. But thank you for watching, and we're going to have to do Age of Ultron sometime soon, if we haven't already.
Where are we going to do Jaws 4?
We're never doing Jaws 4. Jaws 4, final episode. The second to last episode will be Dragon Hunters, the Chinese cartoon, and the last episode will be Jaws 4, the Jawsening.
Get hype.
What was it? Jaws 4, the Revenge? Is it Jaws 4 Revenge? It's Jaws 4 something.
Jaws 4, Rise of Jocelyn.
Jaws 4, it's Jawson. Jaws.
I want to see that crossover.
4, the Revenge. It's the Revenge. Yeah, it's so weird because none of the other films have like a pretense to them. It's like Jaws, Jaws 2, Jaws 3, D, Jaws, the Revenge. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for listening to this podcast. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as we did. And if you did, if you have any suggestions, you're like, I don't like this part, or you could do this instead of that, then please leave a comment in the comment section below, and we'll be sure to get back to you. The next episode, we're doing another movie, aren't we? We're doing...
That would be 3 movies in a row.
Oh, no, we're doing doing Grimm.
Yeah.
What
Grimm.
movie did we did before this?
Spider-Man 3.
Right, Spider-Man 3. Okay, cool. So we're doing, we're gonna... Are you sure about that?
Yes.
Didn't we do the Buffy episodes after Spider-Man 3?
I don't know.
We may be doing another movie before we get to Grimm, but we're going to be doing Grimm, the TV show, in the future. So stay tuned for that, and I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and have a nice day. And remember, never trust a Jetson-style utopia. There's always a sinister undertone.
And also, it takes place at the exact same time as the Flintstones.
Also, totally plausible. I don't see anything wrong with that, besides like dinosaurs and climate, but sure.
No, see, they're mutated animals.
They're dinosaurs, Jacob. They're dinosaurs.
From the nuclear
and some,
apocalypse.
I mean, I guess the animals can't talk because they can go like, it's a living, so mutated animals doesn't sound that unreasonable now that I think about it. Thank you for watching. Yeah. Thank you for watching Astro-boy. I'm so sorry.